Welcome to America's Commercial Real Estate Show, your source for intel, forecasts, and success strategies. Hello, I'm Michael Bull. Thank you for being with us. This segment is brought to you by BOMI.org. That's BOMI.org. They are the trusted source for property and facilities management training. Check them out at BOMI.org. And that's some of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the Better Buildings Challenge. Now, if you own property, manage property, or have any interest in commercial real estate, or if you lead a business, this is important. I've been looking forward to this show. Please welcome my guest. I have Liz York here. She's Chief Sustainability Officer with CDC. Liz, thanks for being with us.
Glad to be here.
We also have Andrea Penabel with us. She's president of South Face, and they're both here in Studio One. Andrea, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
So first of all, let's talk about the Better Buildings Challenge. What is it?
It's a great question. The Better Buildings Challenge, or BBC, it was a program that was launched by the U.S. Department of Energy back in 2011. And the goal was to have a voluntary reduction program for commercial buildings to reduce energy and reduce water use. And it was put as a challenge because cities and communities would challenge each other in order to hit these 2020 goals. So the program goes through 2020.
Okay, and the goals for savings are what, 20%?
20% energy.
Over that 10-year period.
Correct.
Okay, and tell me a little bit about your background and how you got into this and what you do day to day.
Sure. Yes, well, as you said, I'm the president of South Face. We are an organization based here in Atlanta, but our mission is to drive a regenerative economy. And so we do that through responsible resource use, which is energy efficiency, water efficiency, social equity, and a healthy built environment for all. And so a lot of the programs that we work on really focus on creating the policies, the research, the education, and then we do program implementation to really drive those three outcomes to create this regenerative economy, which essentially means that we are putting more back into the world, both financially, environmentally, and socially than we're taking out.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And Liz,
somebody has to do
that's
it.
That's right. And Liz, CDC, what's CDC have to do with commercial real estate today?
Well, so everybody's familiar with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. You're always hearing them on NPR saying one thing or another. We actually are doing research and pulling together the studies and the data on how buildings can help you be healthier. So the design of a building, the configuration, the materials you use, the combinations of those things together can help you make better choices for your own health and honestly for the health of your whole community.
Yeah, and I think that's very important to think about the benefits of all of this. The Better Buildings Challenge, the wellness, the decisions that we make that we're going to talk about today, they can really have some economic impacts as well as wellness, right?
Absolutely. I mean, for the BBC, I just pulled the latest, the 2018 report was just published. There's now over 900 organizations that are participating in the BBC, and that includes 30 of the Fortune 100 companies around the country, 12 out of the top 25 U.S. employers, and that includes 13% of the total commercial space across the U.S., and then 28 states and 100 cities. And what that really means is about a 4.4 billion square foot of commercial real estate and 3.1 billion cumulative savings and energy costs alone.
How much so far?
3.1 billion with a B.
With a B.
With a B.
That's great.
That's a big number.
That's a big number. And you know, prior to South Face, I was on the private sector, and energy and utility costs were our second line item in terms of our bottom line costs after labor. And so anything that we could do to reduce risk and to drive profitability through resource efficiency made good business sense. And so the Better Buildings Challenge is the essence of that through a voluntary program, which is wonderful as well.
Yeah.
Well, and the other piece that we hear about sometimes is that your buildings cost money, Running them costs money, the energy costs money, but the single most expensive thing that you have in your buildings are your people.
Exactly.
So if
Absolutely.
we take care of the people, if we promote their health, then they're going to be more productive and they're going to help drive profit in whatever your core business is. And I know for real estate, you guys are trying to have the clients come in and be happy with their buildings, and the best way to have a happy client is to help them do their core business.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, the tenants make commercial real estate, and when they're successful and they're well and they're doing well, that's what it's all about. And the increase in productivity and retention and recruiting can be incredible. And I know one of the line items for tenants that we represent that are looking for space is they want to know about the energy efficiency of these buildings, right? So what are some samples of what you see people doing and saving in various areas? Is it mainly electricity? Is it mainly water? Is it everything?
All of the above. I think that there are, we kind of put it into a couple different big segments. One are things that are low and no cost that you can do with operating capital. You don't have to actually go and put in terms of your capital planning. And those are things like lighting is still very cheap.
So it's getting cheaper, right?
It's definitely getting cheaper. And I think more, as importantly, the quality of the lighting is greatly improved in terms of color and warmth. And so we have the look and feel of the lighting, which is just as important as how much energy that it consumes. Things like in the water space, like aerators, which have less than a 3-month return on investment, to high pressure sprayers in the kitchenette areas. And then obviously, I would always recommend every 10 years or 8 to 10 years doing a energy and water assessment on your building, so you can actually see what are the benefits that you can achieve and what are the things that you can couple together. So some things that are a little bit lower return on investment with some things that are maybe a little bit higher, but when you couple them together, it really gets it under the threshold of that 3 to 5 years, which is really important in terms of your overall profitability.
Yeah, and I think sometimes when we're leading a business, we tend to concentrate more on the top line or bottom line, and we don't look. But thinking about lighting in your office, for example, can really help with productivity of your people, right? If the lighting is bothering, whether it's sunlight, whether it's the harsh fluorescent lighting.
Right.
So one thing to think about with your space, if you're a tenant, is looking at LED lights, right, in your build out of your space, or when you renew a lease, and also maybe asking your landlord, hey, will you also maintain those lights? I know some of the buildings that we put tenants in, if you start changing out the lightings from their standard, well, then you're responsible for the bulb. So think about that if you're a tenant rep or you lead a company that uses space. What are some other things that business owners should think about?
Well, I want to stay on lighting for just a second because there are some studies right now that the GSA has been working on with a couple of universities, and what the studies are saying is that if you get good quality morning light until 12 o'clock, then you're going to sleep better also. So the fact that we're
Sleep better in the afternoon at my desk?
Yes, you'll sleep better in the afternoon. No, but and sleep is one of the things that determines your stress level. Of course, we know it determines your basic health. So, you might not be thinking that lighting is, it's kind of a boring subject or whatever. But no, this is key. It's key to your sleep. It's key to your productivity, and it's key to just general health.
Yeah, and I would just add on to that. It's not only in terms of interior lighting, but I think if you're doing space build out, or if you're doing renovation of your space, is to also think about pulling in the daylight.
Natural light.
So the daylight and views. There's Harvard studies, CDC has done some amazing studies in terms of the levels of productivity and turnover and lost work are greatly reduced by having visibility to the natural environment and also having the ability to have those natural daylight and views.
Yeah, so important. And if you're leading a business and you think, well, do I really care about the utility cost that much? Maybe I'm in a full service lease. Well, no, there's probably an expense stop. And when the expenses do increase, you're going to have to pay them. And if you operate a building, facilities manager or an owner operator, if your operating costs are high, that's going to be passed along to your net or to your tenants. and they might choose other buildings.
Right.
So I think it's real important that all of us kind of look at all the aspects of how we can save money. And this Better Buildings Challenge is one way to kind of go in there and kind of
Absolutely.
figure out ways to do it. What about water? I mean, water is a big expense for a lot of buildings, and I like it when my property manager talks about saving this little bit on per therm or whatever,
Yeah.
and there's a sparkle in his eyes. Like, that's a property manager I want, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But water can be a big savings area too, right?
So one of the things that we did at CDC, you know, we have laboratories and they use a lot of water, like 6 times the water that you would use in a normal commercial space. And we determined that we were losing water somewhere. We did a study and we found just some operational things that we could change. They cost us very little money to make these changes. Things like having valves where you knew if they were open or closed rather than just having to have osmosis. So like a sign that says open, closed. It sounds like a little thing, but it can help people put the valve in the right position. We also just talked to the people that were in the space about how they're using water, put up signage to let people know if you notice a leak, here's who you call. Because a lot of times it's about the communication within the building. It's not that the mechanics are wrong,
Right.
it's that we just aren't getting the information to the place where it can be actionable. So these are just some of the things we did, and it's a big number. We're saving about $1 million worth of water every year
Wow.
at one campus.
Wow.
Now remember, it's a big campus, big
Yeah.
water
Yeah.
user,
Right.
but we cut our use by almost 25%.
And then what about the commodes? Those use water too, right?
They do, and I would say that there's been evolution in toilets, from everything from full flush toilets to waterless urinals, but anymore the sort of the way that the commodes work, the pressure, you can get very low flow without actually going to waterless and have an efficient toilet. And I think it also goes to, you know, as Liz had mentioned, around communication and really helping people understand. You know, like when you're at home, you don't leave the water on when you brush your teeth.
Right.
And really taking those lessons into the workplace. And so when you're washing your dishes in the cafe area or in the pantry areas, we provide spray bottles full of soapy water to kind of allow some of that pre-rinse and to happen, so we're not leaving the water as you're standing there. And that actually saved our office about 30% of our overall water use.
Oh, that's great.
Right.
You know, we're kind of a demonstration facility at South Face, and so we actually flush all of our toilets with stormwater. You know, and we use a purple pipe system in order to do that. I don't think that's necessarily every commercial building can do that, but I do think it's an opportunity look for innovative ways to reduce your overall water use.
And talk to us about the sustainability of some of these new toilets. I know this show's going to the toilet here.
Yeah.
Already we're
So
in
at
the
South
toilet.
Face, we actually have a commercial grade composting toilet. So within the composting toilet, it's on a vacuum system, and so it's not your camper type of composting toilet. And we actually utilize both the compost that comes out of that composting toilet. We add wood chips, and there's worms, and we use that in the non-edible part of our landscape, as well as the water that comes off of that. And so I think there's an opportunity in the sort of circular economy to kind of talk about how do we reuse waste, and that just happens to be one small area, but waste in general
So you
across
stay away
your
from the water
facilities.
fountains there? Or?
No, you just don't drink out of the
We
toilet.
just don't drink out of the toilet.
Okay. I'm glad I know that now. I did not know that. All right, well, I want to get into some more examples of how people who help people who own properties or lease properties can save money, be more sustainable, a little bit more about the challenge, give you some more examples. Stay with us. We'll have that right after a quick break. I'm Michael Bull. This is America's Commercial Real Estate Show.